Hi everyone. For those new to my channel, I am Seeam, a rising senior and Bangladeshi at Harvard University studying applied math. This is a series where I interview amazing people and talk about their stories and advice which help them get into top universities. After making this series, I got a lot of questions about financial aid, about the whole process, about speaking English, and basically the amount of English you need to tackle standardized exams and English proficiency exams that you need when you are applying to foreign universities abroad as international students. Before we go into what today's video is about, make sure to subscribe to this channel right now and smash that thumbs up button. We have to win over the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, our videos won't reach amazing international students like you. So today, our interview is not actually gonna be an interview, it's gonna be a conversation between me and my friend Labib from Stanford's class of 2022 right now. He studies CS, and like Labib, I am also someone, we both come from not your typical English medium backgrounds that you see present in top US universities when it comes to international students. Most applicants that go into these top universities have studied in advanced curriculums such as A-levels or IB that really build a strong English foundation for them that makes it easier for them to tackle standardized exams and English proficiency exams. However, that is not the case for a lot of international students. A lot of international students don't come from a strong English foundational background, and at the same time, they struggle with these exams. Labib and I both come from the national curriculum in Bangladesh, and we faced our share of struggles as well. And this interview, we are going to talk about how we approach that. So before we talk into that conversation, Labib, why don't you introduce yourself with a brief introduction, and then we can jump right into the conversation.
Hi everyone, I am Labib Tazwar Rahman. I am from Bangladesh. I'm currently studying at Stanford University as a third-year undergraduate student in computer science.
Okay, Labib, so we both talked about how we came from national curriculum background when it comes to our side of the Bangladeshi education that we received. The question I have is how to start having a good foundation in English, especially when you don't come from your typical strong English foundational background. How did you start?
I think the first way to start is to really change the mindset that you have around studying English. I think the advice I would give for students is to just not give a damn about what people are saying, because in non-English speaking countries, there exists a taboo in regards to speaking in English. People can see you as like snobbish. There might be some discomfort. Even I, and I'm sure Seeam can relate, we had a lot of uncomfortable situations where we were very insecure about our pronunciation, insecure about whether or not we are making mistakes. And all of these insecurities, all of these fears are a hindrance to the learning process. So the first advice is to just be confident that you are going to make mistakes, but you are going to grow and learn from those mistakes. So just don't care much about what other people are saying. Just keep your learning journey going.
Okay, that's a good advice. I think I agree with Labib on the fact that there is a lot of taboo when it comes to learning English in non-English speaking countries. A lot of the times when I was going through my journey of learning English, I was teased by a lot of peers around me who looked at me and kind of teased me for reading an English book or watching an English show. They even teased me, for instance, when I was watching a Bangla movie with them. They would be like, "Oh, Seeam, do you need English subtitles for this a Bengali movie?" So I think the share of humiliation is kind of present, but I would like to focus on what Labib said. At the end of the day, you are doing it for personal growth. You're doing it to learn a language that is going to provide you with access to different types of academic goals. And I think you have to tell yourself that it's fine to make mistakes. You will get your fair share of criticism, but that comes with almost learning anything new, and that is fine, and we have to keep going. So are there specific ways that you learn English? I know you talked about the mindset, but once I have cultivated that mindset, what are the specific ways I could start learning English?
Yeah, I think the best way to learn English is through reading books. Um, and I think this is like a general advice people get all the time, but a lot of people fail to follow this advice. So for a lot of people, reading books is like a really hard struggle, and people don't know which book to start with. So the advice that I now give to people is to just start with whatever you find to be entertaining. If you are interested in cricket, watch cricket with commentary. If you're interested in gaming, then watch gaming videos of people streaming. If you enjoy TV shows, if you enjoy movies, just watch those things. Because English, just like any other language, it has like 4 components, right? It has like speaking, listening, it also has like writing and listening. So in whatever ways you are getting the input, I think that is going to be conducive to your learning. So just like do whatever you do on a daily basis in English. So talk to your friends in English in Facebook messages. Try to talk and like think about what you are going to do in the day in English. So I think these small habits can really add up. And I think just the best way to start is whatever you find most entertaining.
Okay, that's a good advice. I think it's hard to really stick to something if you don't really enjoy it. So there are different components of English. You have reading, you have writing, you have listening, and I think there are ways to tackle each of them, in my opinion. So you can read books, you can watch movies, or you can watch videos in general. When it comes to reading books, I suggest start with something light and enjoyable. So I would suggest starting with the Harry Potter series or starting with the Percy Jackson series. They were written for kids and they don't use that complicated vocabulary in those books. Maybe the later parts might use them, but at that time you'll be quite good at reading in general. But I always kept a dictionary next to me when reading those books. And if I ever got stuck in a book with a word, I would just look up the dictionary and learn it really quickly. Later on, when I started to prepare for admission exams or other English proficiency based exams, I used to keep a notepad where I wrote down the word that I didn't know and later look at them. But that's on a different level. All you need to know is just you have to look at the word that you don't understand and understand them and keep reading on. So that's when it comes to books. When it comes to movies and videos, just like Labib said, find something that you're interested in and try to just watch those movies or videos. I usually always turned on subtitles because even to this day, when I'm watching movie with my friends here at Harvard, I always request to turn on the subtitles because I still sometimes don't get certain accents, and it's fine, I think. So turn on the subtitles if you don't understand and really try to see what's happening. And then that is the natural way of learning English. And at the end, and another suggestion is listen to music. I always try to listen to English songs that I like, and later on I kept a reminder to myself to look up the lyrics of those English songs so I kind of can see how they're being pronounced and sing the songs as they were sung. So these were the casual ways we could I started learning English, and that went a long way. A lot of people when they meet me here, they say that I don't have an accent and that my accent is an American accent. I don't have an international accent. I don't take it as a compliment, but I realize that it's because I have watched so many American movies and heard so many American songs that is the way I learned English, and that became the English that I grew up to learn. But Labib, we have talked about the casual ways in which we started learning English. What are some more efficient ways, like a 1 or 2 year plan that we could work towards to really master English? First, we could talk in a general sense, and then we could talk for a more standardized exam sense.
So from a general sense, I would say that just having a constant flow of English into your daily life is actually the way to go. So what I used was Quora. So Quora is a website where people can ask questions and a lot of experts in those particular fields can answer. So the reason why I loved using Quora so much is that I was not like using Quora to just learn English. I was also learning so many things because they're written in the English language. I can just like benefit from the twofold benefit. So I would highly recommend opening a Quora account and setting like half an hour to an hour every day to just read through things that you find interesting. I would also recommend people to subscribe to their favorite YouTube channels like this one or any channel that they're interested in. So for instance, if anyone is interested to learn about coronavirus or say about their religion, Islam, Hinduism, or whatever it is, they can watch sermons, they can watch lectures, and they can pretty much do anything that they think that they should know in English. And I think that like having that as a daily, as a part of your daily life is very helpful. And if you can do this consistently for a year, I think from the start to the end of the year, you will see a drastic improvement in your English comprehension skills.
I agree with the sentiment, which is consistency is key. You don't get really good overnight, but if you keep on practicing English for a year or so, you are gonna see drastic improvements. One advice that I have, that's what I kind of used when I tried learning a new language, which is Spanish. And I think the way that I approached it is that practicing it every day. So there are a few components to practicing it effectively. One is you need like a medium to learn and get lectures from. Duolingo is an amazing app. It is free and you can learn English from Duolingo every day. You can set aside 20 to 30 minutes every day to learn English and take the tests that Duolingo provides in order to learn that language. Another thing is that find like-minded friends who want to practice it along with you, because a lot of the times you might be teased if you practice, like if someone asks you a question in Bengali in a chat and you reply in full fluent English, they might not take it well. So it is better to practice it with friends who are like-minded and want to go through the same journey as you. If you align your goals and introduce accountability, that okay, if you don't, we're all gonna go through this same course 30 minutes a day and practice English with each other and talk about one topic every 3 or 4 days. It could be like what kind of pet I would like to have, a 5-minute conversation with your friend. The next one would be my favorite book. The next day it could be my favorite flower and why I like it. The next day would be my favorite historical personality and why I like it. And if you keep on practicing and if you promise to each other that, hey, if we don't keep our promises, I'm going to take you out for dinner to this restaurant, or I'm going to like buy you this. So that really introduces accountability and you're sincere to this goal, and do that for 1 year. Really immerse yourself in that English experience for 1 year. And I think you will see drastic improvements. Labib, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think the point you touched on, the immersion into a language, I think that's really, really vital. And a lot of people might not understand general advice like, why should watching movies or YouTube videos improve my English? But for like an example that I sometimes use is like, people in Bangladesh watch a lot of Indian media, like Indian movies, Indian Hindi serials. And we, although don't learn Hindi in schools, we learn through these Hindi serials and Hindi movies, right? So just by seeing like half an hour of Hindi serial every day, you have learned a completely new language that you didn't even realize. Yeah. So the same thing can apply to English. Just having a constant stream of English into your daily life can actually enhance a lot. And another thing that I did was every day I read one English article from like a hard like English newspaper like New York Times or the Economist magazine. So when I first started, my English was not that good, and I had a lot of challenges with understanding what certain words meant. So like Siam, I also used a dictionary, but there are like Google Chrome extensions that you can use where you just tap a word and you can save the words, you can find the meanings. And the other advice that I want to give is, after reading the article, you should like try to summarize it in 2 to 3 sentences and keep a journal. So every day for like a year, if you read one article and write 3 sentences to summarize that article, I think your writing will also improve alongside your reading skills. And I recommend an application called Grammarly that you can install in your web browser. So whenever you're writing, Grammarly will point out English grammar mistakes that you're making. So by doing this practice, your like reading comprehension skills increase, your writing skills increase, and overall, I think in 1 year you can see a drastic improvement.
Those are fantastic advice. I have to point out that Labib and I learn English in different environments. I learned English in a cadet college where I did not have access to electronic devices, and thus I had to use your traditional dictionary. But Labib named these wonderful like Chrome extensions such as Grammarly. I now use Grammarly, and even like when I'm writing emails to this day, I do a lot of mistakes and Grammarly points them out. So I think that is very helpful. I think a note about the immersion that you said about us subconsciously acquiring proficiency in Indian, like in Hindi, is funny because like almost all Hindi speakers and Urdu speakers that I've met during my time at Harvard, they were surprised that I understood them. However, they did not understand, like I used to think that it is because our languages are similar, but that's not the case because they did not understand Bengali. How do I understand them? So I recapped and I realized that all those years of watching Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham or Kal Ho Na Ho and all those classic Indian movies that you kind of sit down with families and watch, and Bhagwan, don't watch it with your parents. They're gonna destroy you with that one. But they kind of really help you learn a language. And I think the same could be done in English. We gave a lot of tips out there, and I know it's overwhelming. Before we move on to the standardized exam portion of this conversation, I would like to like summarize them a bit. So one is immerse yourself in an English learning environment. The way you can do this is actively reading books with dictionaries, watching movies and listening to songs. Number 2 is practicing regularly. It could be done. You don't have to do all of them. You could be done in many ways. 1, you could be on Quora and read and write replies. 2, you could follow a pattern where you talk about a topic with your friend every week for 4 or 5 minutes in English and also text in English. You could also install Grammarly so that every time you do mistakes while writing, it fixes it for you and you know what it is. And another thing Labib said was really trying to focus on what you're interested in and then reading articles on that topic. If you're interested in tech, you could read one TechCrunch article every day. If you're interested in business article, read the Harvard Business Review. Go into incognito mode, otherwise they're gonna knock you out after 3 articles and force you to subscribe. So you could read those articles, 1 article every day, use the dictionary extension, and then at the end, try to summarize what you learned. That is extremely important. So these are small habits here and there. Very recently, there has been a lot of resources on English learning, and you could very easily check out a few of those free resources by top companies in Bangladesh, such as 10-Minute School and their English speaking resources. Those are entirely free. And although I haven't used them because they weren't available during my time, those can be resources as well, because since they're getting so much traction. But I hope I summarized all of it. Let's move on to English with the application in standardized exams. How do we start honing our English skills for standardized exams?
I think after you have built a habit of consuming English like any English in any form, I think we can move on to just like getting into the technical details of English. So there are a lot of books, textbooks, and a lot of blogs and websites. You can just search for grammar rules online and you will get a lot of these suggestions. So just start with something that looks visually appealing to you or is like digestible to you, and start learning English grammar rules, because once you learn and to be acclimatized to the English language, I think it's important to tie that with like rules and different sort of regulations that is set on the English language. And so while doing that, I would also recommend people to start taking like 1 or 2 practice tests of the test that you are aiming for. So if it's TOEFL, you can find free resources like free tests on the TOEFL website. If it's SAT, if it's ACT, you can find like free official practice tests on each of their individual websites. I would say just start taking exams. If you do like if you make 70% mistakes, that is all right. You should know where you are, and only then you can progress and see the progress every day by taking more tests, by learning English rules, and then like after every few days by taking another test and seeing how much you have improved. And trust me, you will improve. Like even if you got 20% on the first try, I'm sure if you study like 2 or 3 articles on Google, then your score will at least become like 30%. So you can feel very energized and motivated when you see that result right in front of you, and you can just keep on doing so till you get like near perfect scores.
Wow, near perfect scores. Can't relate. I'm kidding. But I think Labib did give a wonderful advice here. I did not personally take the TOEFL or IELTS. I got that waived. And that is something you could try as well if you come from like an English version background, or if you do well on your SATs. But I will try to say how I learn English for the SAT in general. So SAT has 2 components when it comes to English. One is grammar, another is like critical reading, where you read through a passage and try to summarize what the passage conveyed. So for these 2 things, there are paid resources and there are free resources. For free resources, I used Khan Academy. Khan Academy takes these 2 components and breaks them into different modules. Like for the grammar section, maybe there are 15 grammar rules kind of that they test, and they break it into 15 modules, and each grammar section have like 20 or 30 questions that you kind of understand once you keep on going through them. So what I used to do is like each day I would target one of those grammar rules, and I would keep on doing them and trying to see where I got wrong until I got all of them right. So that is what I did for grammar and critical reading, and that I kept on doing them for a long time until I got to a point where I was confident about taking a practice exam. And after every practice exam, which are free also and very accurate, Khan Academy partners with the College Board so that their SAT practice exams are very accurate. After taking those practice exams, I used to look at which questions I got wrong and what kind of module they fall under, and then go back to these models and practice again and again. Those were the free resources that I utilized. And when it comes to paid resources, I used 2. One was Princeton Review book for SAT. Their grammar section was wonderful. I wouldn't recommend their practice exams because I think they're a bit inaccurate, but their grammar section, which talks about grammar rules, were wonderful, and I found it very useful. Another resource was, you know how Mentors releases books for IBA, BBA admission or MBA admission? They also release a book for IBA or BBA, MBA admission for English, and they have their set of vocab and grammar rules. I used to practice them a lot since I was applying to IBA, and they also taught me a lot of grammar rules. So those were the paid resources I used when it comes to learning English for standardized exams. Labib, do you have anything to add to this?
No, these are all great resources. And I think the general advice is just to start with like whatever you find and just like progress as much as you can. I will just plug in like a personal initiative of mine, which is Titans Education. We are
Yes.
also releasing some free materials with regards to grammar rules, so you can check them on our website, titanseducation.com.
Thank you so much. Labib, as he mentioned, he has started this initiative with a few of his friends called Titan Education, and that provides a lot of free resources on different types of standardized exams and whatnot. I will provide the link in the description, and also remember to check that out. You might find a lot of those resources really helpful. For those of you who are feeling very overwhelmed at this moment, let's try to step back and summarize everything we have talked about for a bit. First of all, we talked about having this mindset where you accept that it is okay to have mistakes, where you accept that you will probably get teased up a few times by your peers. However, you are taking this journey of self-development and it is fine, and these are the sacrifices you have to make. Number two, you start small. You start with things that you're interested in. It could be movies when it comes to like listening, and it could be music, or it could be books when it comes to reading. Start with light books such as Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, movies that you're interested in, and then slowly, if you face any struggle with hard words, try to learn them as you proceed. Then move on to more complicated tasks, such as going to conversational platforms such as Quora. You can also find famous journals in topics that you're interested in, or publications such as TechCrunch, Harvard Business Review, Forbes magazine, and whatnot, and read an article every day. And at the end, try to summarize what you've learned. Those are more focused and complicated tasks that you can. At the same time, you could introduce a group of learners who are friends who are on the same journey, introduce accountability, and then practice, maybe speak on 5 minutes on a topic every week and keep that practice going. These are kind of small steps you could be taking. When it comes to helping you on your journey, there are virtual resources out there that you could utilize. You could go to websites such as, you could use extensions such as Grammarly. You could have apps downloaded on the phone such as Merriam-Webster's dictionary and whatnot. And they're gonna help you correct your writings and also provide you with meanings to words that you don't know. And finally, taking all of that and kind of pointing it towards our goal, which was to learn English for standardized exams, there are ways to start. First, start with practice exams, see where you're weak after a year of practice, and then go into free resources like Khan Academy and practice modules which target your weaknesses. You could also utilize free resources like the one Labib talked about, his personal initiative, Titans Education, and that could be helpful as well. After you have kind of mastered those particular modules in grammar and critical reading, get some paid resources if you can. It's not compulsory, but books from like BBA admissions or business in general, or GMAT, that talks about grammar are very helpful. You can use Princeton Review's SAT grammar section, and that can help you also improve your English skills. That was a lot, but hopefully you'll have 1 to 2 years to really go on to that English journey. And trust me, both of us come from national curriculum backgrounds, and we were pretty bad at English when we began. But however, throughout the course of time, we improved enough to have good conversations in English and get into the top institutions we wanted through appearing in the different types of standardized exams they required and our essays and whatnot. But thank you so much, Labib, for doing this with me. I hope it is a useful resource for a lot of students out there. If you want to thank Labib, you can always do that. I will provide his social media handles in the link description, his Instagram, Facebook. Reach out to him, annoy him. If he doesn't reply, just stop. But if he does reply, his messages might make you happy.
I will reply. I will reply.
Okay, he will reply. Hopefully he will. But thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Siam, for inviting me.
If you want more interviews like this on different topics with regards to US applications or just applications to foreign universities for international students in general, please subscribe to this channel right now. Smash that thumbs up button. Help us win over the YouTube algorithm. Bye-bye.